welcome. We are broadcasting this event live on Kappa Epsilon's official Facebook feed. And while we are getting ready to get started, I would encourage you to reach out to fellow frauders, friends, and others in your network and encourage them to join in on our celebration. I'd officially like to welcome you all. It's wonderful to have a mix of collegiate members and alumni of all ages. Welcome to our additional guests. I appreciate you joining us to celebrate our TKE graduates. We have campus representatives, friends, and family joining us here tonight. And most importantly, welcome graduates. Congratulations to you and to all of the members of the class of 2020 who have completed or soon will be completing your senior year in a very unexpected fashion. Your strength and resiliency have allowed you to finish strong and will facilitate your continued success as you build your future. And now that we've had time for more audience members to join in, let me officially welcome everyone to the first ever TKE Nation Virtual Commencement. My name is Aldrich, and I am honored to serve as the Chief Executive Officer of this great fraternity. I'm a proud graduate from the Venerable chapter at Franklin College in Indiana, and I want to offer a personal shout out to the 5 seniors graduating from Venerable this spring, and specifically to Alex and Eric, who are in my own family tree. I'm pleased to honor our graduates here tonight. We have 2,189 frauders graduating this year from 219 colleges and universities across the United States and Canada. We are celebrating frauders from 47 U.S. states, 4 Canadian provinces, and 16 other countries. Our youngest graduate is from one of our youngest chapters. Phil Huntley from our Phi Alpha chapter is 19 years old and graduating with an associate's degree in automotive technology from the University of Alaska. Conversely, Scott Ayeth from our Sigma Zeta chapter is a 40-year-old Army veteran. He came to the University of South Carolina, Aiken as a non-traditional student and has completed his bachelor's in psychology in less than 4 years. On behalf of Kappa Epsilon, thank you for your service to our country, Frater Scott. For Matt Cooney at Rutgers University in Newark, he's only been in the fraternity a short while. He initiated into the Theta Zeta chapter 6 months ago and is most recently the most recent initiated frauder within the graduating class. I'm glad he was still being recruited and made the choice to join as a senior, and I cannot wait to hear all the memories he builds as an alumni member in the fraternity for life. Frater Daniel Felder has been with TKE a bit longer. He initiated into the Omicron Tall chapter at Columbus State University in Georgia in 2011. Since then, he's taken time off for military service and transferred to Kennesaw State University in 2016. Frater Felder has been serving as the Prytanis of the Xi Chi chapter throughout his senior year and is graduating with a degree in cybersecurity. Thank you, Frater Felder, additionally for your service to our country. Over 1,300 of you served as an officer for your chapter. Many held different offices over multiple years. 253 of you are elected Prytanis by your peers and served as the executive for your own group. Almost 200 of you were at Conclave with us, and I personally had the chance to work with 80 of you at the TKE Leadership Academy over the past few years. Regardless of what programs you attended, what offices you may have held, every single one of you has played an important role in your chapter and colony within our international fraternity. In a fraternity which celebrates the gifts of individual members, the addition of every individual frauder changes the whole fraternity, renewing it. Our bond requires all frauders, old and new, to take the words of our bond, translate them into life, for the good of our fraternity, for the good of our frauders, and for our own good. Only when we make this common bond our common goal do we live in the spirit of true brotherhood. I want to thank you, frauders, for the positive influence you have had on other individual members, on your group, and on our broader communities. And I look forward to the promise and impact of what you will continue to offer as a member of the fraternity for life. It's now my pleasure and an honor to introduce our celebrity TKE for the evening, Frater Marc Benioff, to share a few words with the class of 2020. Frater Marc Benioff is the founder and chairman and CEO of Salesforce. He was initiated into the Beta Sigma chapter at the University of Southern California and currently serves as on the university's board of trustees. Frater Marc is an internet entrepreneur who sold his first piece of software, How to Juggle, for $75 when he was 14 years old and founded his first company at the age of 15. Before launching Salesforce, he spent 13 years at Oracle Corporation, where he was the youngest vice president in company history. Frater Benioff founded Salesforce in 1999 and the Salesforce.com Foundation in 2000. He was named one of the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders, and Fortune magazine named him one of the world's 50 greatest leaders for his commitment to equality and other social issues as CEO. Salesforce has been repeatedly named the world's most admired company in the software industry in one of the world's most innovative companies and a best place to work by Fortune and Forbes magazines. Frater Marc and his wife Lynn have been recognized as top philanthropists and have made substantial commitments specifically to children's hospitals in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where they and their children reside. Ladies and gentlemen, Frater Marc Benioff.
Well, congratulations to the class of 2020. I am Marc Benioff. I'm the founder, chair, and CEO of Salesforce. I am a proud alumni of Tau Kappa Epsilon, University of Southern California, Beta Sigma, chapter, member number 730. And I'll tell you, joining TKE was a defining moment in my life. When I got to USC, I knew I wanted to join a fraternity, but I knew I wanted to have a different kind of fraternity experience, and I found a fraternity that was restarting after getting thrown off of campus for doing a lot of bad stuff. Well, that was TKE. I was an entrepreneur. I was just naturally attracted to all the other entrepreneurs who were all joining TKE and wanted to create an amazing new fraternity. That was so exciting to me. Look, it was a lot of work, but it reinforced, my belief in working with others and creating great teams and having great ideas, being an entrepreneur. During that experience, I have to tell you, I learned some of the best things in my whole life. I learned that leaders are great communicators. I learned that leaders are great listeners. And I learned that leaders always have a beginner's mind. I also learned we have to resist becoming overconfident and arrogant and listening deeply to the people around us to understand their viewpoints. And I'll tell you, we need to cultivate more humility. I know that's something I need to do every single day. And in the end, it becomes a matter of building trust with ourselves, with our team, and recognizing that no one succeeds alone. We're all in this together. We rise and fall as one, and we all know we rise and fall as one Tau Kappa Epsilon. But right now we find ourselves in a challenging and sometimes scary moment in time. This is my first pandemic, as it is for all of us. But as CEO of Salesforce, I've been through a lot of these crazy times before. Recessions, roller coasters. Look, this has been a challenging time for all of us, but this is part of life. Life can be like that. There can be a lot of ups and downs, but you have to remember, it's what you're doing with this time, what you're doing with this moment, that's ultimately going to matter. You have to lead by a core set of values. What is it that truly is important to you? What is the most important thing to you? Because you have to remember those core values, well, they're going to endure. And having a set of core values to serve as the foundation for everything you do, well, that will be your guiding point. That will be your North Star in your life. When you face a challenging decision or moment, you'll be able to ask yourself, how am I staying true to my core values? And now, as you head out into the world at this unprecedented moment and this new normal, the past doesn't equal the future. It never does. Forget all of your assumptions about what lies ahead. Cultivate that beginner's mind. We know we have to do that, because we know that in the expert's mind there are few possibilities, but in the beginner's mind there are many possibilities. And in a world like this, a new world, a new normal, well, then we have to imagine the world not as it was, but as it can be. And every one of us should be asking, how can I help my community, my country, the world, my fraternity, my family? What can I do to make a difference right now? Every single one of us can improve the state of the world. And as difficult as this moment might be, it's bringing out the best of people, demonstrating the power of community, demonstrating their love for others. That's what we can achieve together. We can become a stronger family. So congratulations to you, the class of 2020. Congratulations to all these TKEs. Let me tell you, you've achieved something so special. And I hope you'll be part of the amazing tradition of TKE alumni who have made a difference in the world and who have made the world such a better place. Class of 2020, you are the people who are going to change the world. You're going to be the leaders in this new normal.
A hearty thank you to Frater Benioff for his message and for making time for TKE during this COVID-19 pandemic. Our second speaker tonight holds the highest office in Tau Kappa Epsilon. Frater Jim Hickey was initiated into the Zeta Alpha chapter at Wagner College, where he served as Prytanis, Hegemon, and Histor. A graduate of Leadership Academy 4, He was named a top TEK in 1993 and is the 1994 recipient of the Ronald Reagan Leadership Award from the TEK Educational Foundation. A Lefloa TEK, he has served as the Zeta Alpha Chapter Board of Advisors Chairman and President of the Zeta Alpha Alumni Association. He has served on TEK Foundation committees, co-chaired the Leadership Academy campaign, and was named a Volunteer of the Month in 2009 and a facilitator of Leadership Academy 24 in 2010. Frater Hickey holds a Ph.D. in Educational Leadership, Administration, and Policy from Fordham University's Graduate School of Education. Recognized in 2009 as the New Jersey Principal of the Year, he was formerly principal of Old Bridge High School in Matawan, New Jersey, one of the largest public high schools in the nation. He is currently the headmaster of Austin Preparatory School, an independent day school in Reading, Massachusetts. Elected to the Grand Council in 2009, he has now served 10 consecutive years as a Grand Officer and was elected Venerable Grand Prytanis at Conclave 2019 in Orlando, Florida. A lifelong donor to the TEK Foundation, he's a proud husband and dad of 4, including 3 future TEKs. Please welcome the Venerable Grand Prytanis of Tau Kappa Epsilon, Dr. Jim Hickey.
Thanks, Frater Donnie. As was shared in my introduction, I'm a graduate of Wagner College. I'm a proud alumnus of that great institution. The Zeta Alpha chapter there has a single member in the class of 2020, and I wanted to publicly congratulate Steve Leone, who's graduating with from the Physician's Assistant Program and returning next year to complete his master's degree. I understand that Steve isn't able to join with us tonight because he's working as an EMT on Staten Island on the front lines. Let me take this moment to say a special thank you to him and all of our fraters, and certainly to everyone else who are working as first responders and healthcare providers in the midst of this pandemic. In my volunteer role with Tau Kappa Epsilon and in my professional life at Austin Prep, I see firsthand how disruptive the current situation is for students, and I have a special empathy for graduating seniors. As headmaster of an independent school, I have a graduating class that is similarly impacted. And I'm glad that I can honor you here tonight to celebrate your academic achievements, your fraternal accomplishments, and your transition into the fraternity for life. The mission of Tau Kappa Epsilon is to aid men in their mental, moral, and social development for life. The fraternity provides a rich out-of-class experience that complements and enriches students' academic pursuits. I'm pleased to recognize the following collegiate fraters who have earned scholarship awards from the TEK Foundation for their leadership and their academic accomplishments. The Greg and Kay Woodson Leadership Scholarship has been awarded this year to Nick Pancheri from the Alpha Delta Colony at the University of Idaho. The recipient of this year's Lawn Justice Scholarship is Max Phillips from the Beta Chapter at Millikan University. Cassin Hancock from Centenary College of Louisiana Iota Theta Chapter has been awarded this year's George P. Bundy Scholarship. There are 2 major awards recognizing the lifelong commitment of Charles R. Walgreen Jr. as a TEK volunteer and supporter, one for leadership and one for academic achievement. The recipient of the Walgreen Leadership Award is Mateo Haydar from the University of Florida's Gamma Theta Chapter. The recipient of the Walgreen Memorial Scholarship is Sergeant Jason Pearl from our new colony at Benedictine University. Named for a past Grand Prytanis of the fraternity and a past chairman of the TEK Foundation, the John A. Corson Top Scholarship Award is the highest academic award given to a TEK. This year's recipient is Matthew Husky from the Delta Epsilon chapter at Cleveland State University. Other fraters joining Matthew on the all-TEK academic team include Matt Piscini from the University of Southern California's Beta Sigma chapter, and Reese Naylor from the Beta chapter at Millikan University. The Ronald Reagan Leadership Award is the highest honor the TKE Foundation awards annually to a collegiate frater. As a recipient in 1994 of this award, it is a special privilege for me to announce this year's Reagan Leadership Award. From the Untitled Chapter at Lyon College, this year's recipient is Frater John Pruden. Congratulations to all of our scholarship and award winners. And thank you to the TKE Foundation and the many donors who have made these awards and 40 other named scholarships available to support our students. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Frater Charles W. Whittington Jr. began his TKE experience at Southern Mississippi's Colony 529 and served as Prytanis when the colony chartered as Pi-Psi. Since his 1986 graduation, Frater Whittington served as a volunteer for his chapter at Southern Mississippi as a member of the Board of Advisors from 1994 to 2000, and as the Alumni Association president from 1995 to 2001. In addition, he has been a supporter of the TKE Foundation for nearly 20 years. Frater Whittington served in the Army National Guard for over 30 years and held command positions at the company, battalion, brigade, and division level. He has served in Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and in Afghanistan as part of Operation Enduring Freedom. Major General Whittington is now retired from military service after having served as Acting Director of the United States Army National Guard. He is currently the Vice President and Chief Information Officer at Pactiv Corporation in Lake Forest, Illinois, where he has worked for over 25 years. Frater Whittington served on the Grand Council for one biennium, having been appointed as a member at large in 2017 and then being named Grand Hister in July of 2018. It was a privilege for me to serve with him. Frater Whittington and his wife Kimberly live in Gurnee, Illinois, and are the proud parents of Savannah, a Chicago public school teacher, and Charles III, Chipper, who has just graduated from the University of Kentucky. Please join me in welcoming Frater Whittington.
Well, good evening, young men, and I'd like to join TKE Nation in offering my congratulations on your commencement. It's a wonderful accomplishment. Having a son that just graduated this year from college has allowed our family to share in this unique experience. And he was just commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army this past week in a virtual ceremony. Never been done before. But I think this new normal that we're in the middle of, as I see it, provides a wealth of opportunity for you. And the great news is, you're at the tip of the spear as we continue to reshape how we respond to this crisis. And having met some of you, I couldn't be more pleased that you're the generation that's stepping up. Now, I thought about what I could share with you that would maybe offer you some insights into what the near term might look for you, maybe offer you some thoughts while shaving that allow you to understand that I recognize the journey you're embarking on now can appear to be uncertain, unpredictable, and in some instances, downright scary. Truth be told, I understand. The good news is, beginnings are always exciting if you approach them as challenges. Now, I'm certain you're aware that even the lowest ranking graduate from a medical school is called doctor, although I'm not sure I'd schedule an appointment with them. Still, this is equally true with you as recent graduates. No matter if you're a valedictorian, a Prytanis, or a distinguished graduate, you all start from the same set of starting blocks in your respective journeys. So as you begin, know that good or bad, your career before now will not define you. Now, each of you are responsible to set the ask and the pace for your individual careers starting now. What I do believe, though, is you're prepared. Both your academic experience and your time as a TKE led you to this moment. So let's carve out a few minutes to break this down into the blocking and tackling of the next chapter. Julius Caesar said, "Experience is the teacher of all things." So in that vein, let me share with you some of mine. Now, I think there are three elements to success, regardless of where you're at on life's journey. First, a commitment to excellence. Second, an ability to predict and to manage adversity. And third, an unwavering belief in a set of values to guide you on your journey. So let's break each of these down. First, a commitment to excellence. During my management career, one of the most fundamental lessons I learned about how to deliver strong performance couldn't have been more simple and titled. Expect excellence. Set the tone early in your career by adopting a purposeful, deliberate approach, making yourselves accountable to deliver results. Once you gain a reputation as a fair and balanced employee or leader that sets high performance standards from the folks you're working with, the message gets out. So I thought I might take a moment to share with you what I think excellence is, and maybe more importantly, what it is not. First, I believe at its core, excellence requires you to, either as a follower or a leader, to visualize, describe, and direct. Visualize an outcome, describe the boundaries of action, and then direct action and resources to achieve the outcome. Sound simple? Trust me, it is not. However, what I have found is most plans rarely survive their first encounter with adversity. And overwhelmingly, the root cause for this failure ties to a violently executed plan that was poorly planned. How do we recognize this early? Well, the old adage of a failure to plan is a plan to fail works very well here. The great leaders I've worked for understand to visualize, describe, and direct requires the linkage too. They all have to be connected in the plan and in the execution. In the military, we use the 1/3, 2/3 rule. If an operation was due to kick off in a few days, the remaining time was split. I and my staff used 1/3 of the time to provide my guidance, my vision, my boundaries, and my prescriptive direction. And I left 2/3 of the remaining time for the units downstream to create their plans. But from time to time, it is a good leader that stays connected as the teams are doing their planning, to be accessible and approachable, now be careful here, because I caution against the tendency for some to blend in the need to micromanage every detail. This is a false bottom. While you think you might be helping the team, what you are in fact doing is choking down creativity. And creativity is the secret sauce. Now, as a leader, you have to subordinate yourself to the process to arrive at excellence. And this means sometimes the best answers aren't your own. Now, I took great pride in the fact that my team felt comfortable enough to work our way through to an excellent solution. And what I had to do was set the rules, enable the dialogue, and keep the discussion moving to a resolution. Visualize, describe, direct. And finally, start on time. And never let a drive for perfection ruin a perfectly good plan. What else is excellence? It is a purposefully hard bar to reach. It has to be. Otherwise, we'd call it mediocrity, wouldn't we? So how do we set conditions for success? First, be all in with your career field. Be tactically and technically proficient. If you're going to be a businessman, be the best damn capitalist you can be. If you're going to be a social servant, aim to be the most capable provider you can be. Master your profession. As an individual, this is the single most important element to excellence. As a new leader, the nuance now, you have to temper that individual search for excellence through a team lens. This makes it even more difficult, as now all the complicating factors of team management introduce themselves into the excellence equation. For me, I think the greatest danger here is not recognizing that our teams, while they strive for excellence, won't always reach it. But there is tremendous value in the journey, and oftentimes leaders just don't recognize this. But rest assured, if you are willing to underwrite reasonable risk for your team, the effort provides so many teachable, coachable moments. But this requires the leader to broaden their aperture, though. And young leaders, they're just not comfortable sometimes in their own skin yet. So you have to practice. But it ain't all art, guys. There's a lot of science to excellence. And the science of excellence is the great equalizer, because it doesn't necessarily take age and experience to use science as a tool. Again, read above. Be an expert. By the time Einstein turned 26, he'd published 4 groundbreaking papers. One on the photoelectric effect, one on Brownian motion, one on special relativity, and one on the equivalence of mass and energy, which brought him great acclaim in the academic world at 26 years old. What is excellence not? It is not perfection. There's no perfection in life. I'm not sure where you are in your spiritual journey, so forgive my departure, but where I come from, there was only one perfect being. The point is, excellence is seldom found in an event. It's usually at the close of a long, arduous journey, accompanied by failures in the trip. The lead towards excellence requires a deliberate, agile, and learning approach. What else is excellent not? Guys, it's not a spectator sport. Lead from the front. Leaders who expect excellence by sitting on the sidelines are doomed to fail. But let me share with you a lesson as important. In your journey, learn how to be a great follower before you become a good leader. The art of excellence is knowing when you have to make a decision to be one or the other. So what's the second element? This is learning to manage adversity. Booker T. Washington wrote, "Success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he's overcome." Now, each of us face adversity from time to time, although some of us seem to be more adaptable to adversity, while others draw inward and allow their fears to call the next decision. The ability to hurdle obstacles is not something that can be easily learned, and I would argue there are no such animals as built for adversity. Rather, the difference is the ones who move through these tough times, generally speaking, have expected this roadblock, and through their ability to understand the variable risks they're likely to encounter, are able to practice against adversity. How do they do this? Well, the ability to move to the high ground mentally is the first step. Understand that this too shall pass, and believe it. Now, my intent is not to sound Pollyannish about crises, rather to reinforce the power of positive thinking, not to be confused with blindly attacking problems. Generally, these folks spend the right amount of time processing their experience, and then they move out smartly. Their mental resilience lifts them up to pursue opportunities instead of wallowing in self-despair. Now, here are a few ways in my military career that I've been able to witness this. 1. Preparation identifies those potential minefields. Disraeli once said, "I am prepared for the worst, but I hope for the best." I call it planning to the extremes. When faced with challenges, your plan should always assume two potential courses of action. First, catastrophic success. That's right. What happens if I far and away exceed the goal? Am I ready for the potential consequences? General Buford Blount, in the move to take Baghdad in the Second Gulf War, moved through the battle space to the high ground on the far side of the city in record time, not expecting to be in possession of this ground this quickly, and the team was ill prepared for what came next. Citizens that were so waiting to be liberated, we didn't have a plan for it. To his credit, General Blount shared that with young leaders so we could learn from his experience. Second, plan for catastrophic failure. Understand the likely consequences and the corresponding effects. Start developing the various options to manage through a cascade of events that literally start spinning downward. This mental preparation will reveal valuable must-dos in the plan in order to avoid the extreme. And now that you have planned for both ends of the continuum, it is likely the outcome will be somewhere in between. And if you're prepared for the far left and the far right, the journey between those two becomes much more manageable. Second, embrace purposeful passion. Nothing like being all in. Think about it. Consider the one thing in your life that elicits overwhelming passion. And imagine, if you will, if we all were to invest ourselves in this purposeful mindset about the basic challenges we face day to day. Think about that. Is passion faked? Nope, not possible. Is it just something you can dial up? No. It is the result of your unwavering commitment to a person, a purpose, or an outcome. The basic requirements that lead to this purposeful, passionate mindset are a healthy dose of optimism and a belief in your capabilities to effect a positive result, and an utter refusal to give in or give up. And there are countless stories in our military that typify this. But here's what it boils down to. Our victories in battle, our very way of life, are owed not to historic moments or significant dates. These victories were the result of the actions and sacrifices of those men and women who were willing to step into the breach for their country and for the cause of freedom, and they overcame adversity under the most dire of situations, literally staring into the realization of their own mortality. We see this in action today in the midst of this pandemic. People who put the nation's interest above their own, who put patriotism above profit, and who live a love for their country and ignore a love of self. Make peace with your circumstances and learn. That's number 2. It is almost as certain that at some point you will make mistakes. Some of these, they're going to be doozies. The worst way to handle this is to pivot, to look for a place to park the blame. Equally, setting yourself on fire as a penance, that's foolhardy as well. Instead, take the time to accept your current state. Note, I did not say accept an inevitable. Quite the opposite. Once we understand the decisions that led us to an adverse situation and own them, we can start thinking clearly about how to maneuver to a higher ground. As well, the effort involved in this introspection is an opportunity to learn, and this never stops. Even more, if you're part of a team, you would be surprised at how quickly the team will gel around a leader that accepts that mantle. I can remember a time when my boy Chipper, who played lacrosse in high school, tried out for a state select team. He talked to two of his buddies into trying out, and you guessed it, they made it, he didn't. I can remember watching him as a young man, looking for the why. So I broke out an old notebook I carried for years. In the front, 2 pages were all the great things I thought I did in sports. Lots of room on those pages. In the back were several pages of misses, and out to the side of those, my summary as to why. And I need only look in the mirror to find the root cause. Then I turned to the middle of the book and showed him that for each one of these failures, there was a next chapter. And in some instances, the items on the first pages were a direct result of the actions I took after I failed. So what's the third element? How about this? Values matter. Now for all of us, fortunate to have lived this TKE undergraduate experience, there is a not so hidden gem that prepared us and will prepare you for your future journey. Until now, for some, the thought of framing your life under core values has been, let's just say, a muscle that's been exercised not near to its potential. After all, love, charity, and esteem should not be just 3 words that simply bind each individual to another TKE. While that, in and of itself, would be pretty righteous. I think for me, the opportunity to truly understand how core values shape your life started with those 3 words. But to be honest, I'm not certain my TKE journey that I really lived the core values. I knew them, I understood them, but I don't think I did my level best to really live the core values of the fraternity while I was an undergraduate. Cards on the table. But let me tell you the beauty of that piece of introspect. When I commissioned in the Army, the commanding officer of my first unit handed me a card that listed the Army core values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. And I distinctly remember the point in time that crystallized the importance that these values brought to shaping not only my career, but my life. And were it not for my recognition that I had not done as good a job elevating love, charity, and esteem during my time as an undergrad, I would have had zero appreciation for just how important having core values really are. And more importantly, framing a career, and I'd like to think a life, that used these values as waypoints, guardrails, whatever boundary descriptor you'd like to use. The final lesson of the value proposition is the one I'll borrow from a story I read in the paper. Now, I hope all of you heard the story of America's greatest athlete. And no, it's not LeBron James. A young man named Jim Thorpe. At the 1912 Stockholm Olympics, Jim Thorpe won both the pentathlon and track and field's premier event, the decathlon. Gustav V, the King of Sweden, met Jim and said, "You, sir, I am now certain are the greatest athlete in the world." To which Jim Thorpe very simply replied, "Thanks, King." Now the point here is, say thanks. Make it a habit to find one person a day and offer them your thanks, and mean it. You can't know just how much a difference it makes when leaders recognize the efforts of the individuals who make their business your success. You know, my grandmother used to tell me, a great education can't replace good manners and values. Now, during my time in the fraternity, I learned to appreciate that in order to succeed, it wasn't enough just to expect success. Once we'd achieved a goal, we celebrated the victory, no matter how small. Why? Well, we were a fairly small chapter that faced a number of struggles, like I am certain some of you on this call can appreciate. And I distinctly remember over a cold beverage or two with some of my closest fraternity brothers talking about those struggles, and often wondering aloud, why are we doing this? Why are we taking on these challenges? Where's the upside? And the conversations invariably turned back to the tie that binds us to this day. It was our journey, our struggle, our values, and not just mine. And from that moment on, I learned to say thank you, and really mean it. It might sound like an oversimplification, but think about it. The power of those 2 words. TKE taught me to be grateful, to be humble, and to celebrate success no matter how small. Frauders, it's now time to live my own lessons and tell you thank you. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to share this evening with you. I really do hope you enjoyed my speech, and if you didn't, I hope you had a good nap. Now allow me to send you off with a parting thought. President John Adams once wrote, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, to do more, and become more, then you are a leader." Powerful words, but you have to be asking yourself, how? Teak men should be known as men of action, men of purpose, men of humble character, servant leaders that understand the greater good and work to advance this mission in the time our Creator allows for us to serve. Living this life, your life and service, advances our Teak mission. No, really. You know why? Because you will absolutely connect with individuals in your chosen career that will be curious about your fraternity experience. For them, it will either confirm or debunk a preconceived notion or two about how the experience can serve to shape one of their loved ones. Learn to apply the lessons of love, charity, and esteem as you move onward into this great journey. You know, I've gotten much better in my old age with this, and I have been rewarded richly for understanding that to serve is the greatest reward. My benefit? The opportunity to serve and to serve again. God bless you, Fraters. I love the fraternity.
I want to thank both Frater Benioff and Frater Whittington for sharing some insights about their life experiences and how Tau Kappa Epsilon impacted their journey. Frater Whittington specifically used the word journey a couple of times. And as you continue on beyond your college years, your undergraduate years, you begin the next part of your journey in the fraternity for life. If you've been at an RLC, you probably heard me mention, or if you've been at a conclave and had a conversation with me, you probably heard me say along the way that on the day you knelt at the altar and recited the bond, you joined Tau Kappa Epsilon. But it takes a lifetime to become a Teak. And I think the insights that you heard from Frater Benioff and Frater Whittington gives some insight into what that means. The only thing I can add to what they shared today is that whatever path you choose, whatever road you go down, make sure you do what you love. Because if you're passionate about what you do, it makes a difference every single morning when you get out of bed. 26 years into my professional life, I love what I do. I feel blessed, I'm very grateful, and I get up every day thankful for the challenges that I have, thankful for the people that I've encountered, thankful for the blessings that have come my way in my lifetime. And I attribute that in large part because I love what I do. And it makes so much of, the daily grind, the vicissitudes of life, it makes them bearable, it makes them manageable. And in so many ways, it makes them transient. You recognize that they will pass. What I want to share with you is keep Teak close to your heart and the values that Tau Kappa Epsilon represents, because it will make a difference in your lifetime. It'll help you make better choices. It will help you become better in your lifetime. Thanks, Fraters. I love the fraternity.
I want to thank you. I want to thank Frater Whittington and Frater Benioff as well. You can see the passion and love of these men, and the phenomenal aspect for all of you seniors out there is that you're now entering being an alumni member, and that journey is much longer than the 4 or 5 years, or even as for the Army veteran we pointed out, his journey was closer to 9 years before he graduated. But this experience that you have as an alumni member lasts much longer, and I can tell you firsthand there are far more experiences out there to be had, and it can be even richer if you engage in the fraternity for life. If you engage outside of the Teak neighborhood, the chapter that you grew up in or be a part of, and has been so enriching to you thus far. There's so many more Teaks out across the United States and Canada, and frankly, across the globe right now, who are excited to have you join us as alumni members and engage as alumni members, and we cannot wait to see what you will accomplish. I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening for the inaugural Tau Kappa Epsilon Virtual Commencement Ceremony. We're grateful for our seniors, for their contributions to Teak, for the support of their family and friends, and for the contributions that they will make as alumni members. On behalf of your fraternity family, Godspeed, congratulations to the class of 2020. Brothers, friends, I love the fraternity, and good night.